Resume. So we're gonna finish Gone Home today, and maybe even play the developer version of the game at the end if we've got some time. They have a mode in this game where they put voice memos from the actual developers and writers of the game scattered throughout the house. This is not Grow Home. Alright, so where we left off last time was that Sam and Lonnie have started dating, but it's still a secret from their parents. Got a postcard. Hi, Sam. I'm writing to you from, I have no idea how to say that, Multnomah Falls, and I'm here on a class trip, which is stupid because it's March and I don't know if anyone's running the school. Has been to Oregon, but it's cold and rainy as shit in March. Wish you were here. Oh wait, you are here because I'm writing this to you in the gift shop. Oh shit, here you come. L. That's cute.
They tell you to stick with the group on field trips, Katie. There's a reason for that. Lonnie and I snuck off on the side paths at Multnomah Falls and got a little lost. Okay, a lot lost. Like, for hours. Right before the bus left, we found a trail and came running down the path, soaked and covered in mud, shouting for the bus not to leave. The school called home. Mom and Dad said, "You didn't get into trouble like this before you met that Lonnie girl." But I don't think they know about us. The kids at school, though, I'm really afraid that's a whole other story. Stick with the group, Katie. Stick with the group.
So her parents are kind of distrusting of Lonnie as a new friend. What do we got here? Costumes, skeletons. The coolest stuff. So these are actually the journal entries that we've been listening to. There, you can see that this is Sam's handwriting, writing out a number of the things that we've already listened to throughout the game. Woman Outlaws. I like how the light's pointing at the bulletin board, basically telling you to go there. Had enough. Bunch of magazines. Kicking Against the Patriarchy, The Great Goodfellow Right of 95. Right, so they're kind of making their own music covers and scrapbooks. So that would help. Empty pizza box. I can read it this way. So, dear Miss Greenbrier, I appreciate the time and effort you put into writing your letter. It showed initiative as well as was well written, but it does not change my mind on this matter. While I understand that Miss DeSoto is a friend of yours, the fact of the matter is that she defaced school property with profanity. In fact, that the fact that she allegedly defaced her own locker in retaliation for another student doing the same to yours is immaterial. As to your complaint that no other student has been punished for their part in the incident, the fact is that no guilty party has come forward and there has been no convincing evidence as to who might have defaced your locker. In other words, there is no one to punish. I would suggest letting this issue drop, as it will only bring more unwanted attention on yourself, which I believe is what you claim began this whole incident in the first place. Right. So I like these letters scattered throughout the house, especially since I would have my students read them.
Lonnie sometimes. Like, her band, and our zine, and her hair, and everything are all anti-authority. But I watch her in JROTC, and she's doing drills in perfect formation, following orders, no question. And there's all this stuff in the news about don't ask, don't tell. Like, she's going to join the army and then have to lie about who she is. She said they don't need to know what they don't need to know. Like it was no big deal. This from the girl who trashed her locker to, defend my honor. I've learned when to stop arguing, though. I don't think Lonnie even gets Lonnie sometimes.
So that just brought us back upstairs, but so that part of the story, first let's look what we got here. Got a combination, okay. That part of the story is really important because it goes into Lonnie. You get to know Lonnie more as a person, and how she's constantly going against authority. She's a rebel, but then she's also joining the military and basically does what everyone tells her to do there, even though in school she kind of goes against the authority of her teachers and her parents at home. Especially since, as they mentioned in the memo there, this is during Don't Ask, Don't Tell, where someone who is a part of the LGBT community were not allowed to say so, otherwise they would be evicted from the military. So Lonnie would be actively lying about who she is. Spanish book. And that led to a very fruitful conversation in my class about being honest about yourself. Ooh. Daniel says he's coming over to get his game back. Hey Lonnie, sorry my mom has such a bitch last night. She hardly ever around since the whole Don't Ask bit never seemed to get the weight it should have. Yeah. I agree, Potter, totally. She's hardly ever around since her force is like an hour away, and then when she is home, she takes it out on you, like because you're not a member of the family. She knows you won't call her out on it, and I'm sorry. Right, and then the red is obviously Lonnie responding. Remember, no texting at this time. Yeah, Meg and I totally agree, and especially since like the whole aspect of like both of their sexual identities comes up very naturally in the game, that allows that to also happen in the classroom, where the students are able to make this connection with both of the characters before knowing about their sexuality. That way, they can kind of reconcile it along with Katie, who you are in the game, the sister, right? You're learning it alongside her. No. So this was, let me go back. So this is Sam talking about Lonnie saying she would not want to live with her mom in Florida. Earth, Wind, and Fire. The only reason I know Earth, Wind, and Fire is because it was played at every single bar and bat mitzvah I ever went to when I was in middle school. The skull was the coolest thing I found in Mexico, and it was like $3. That's when Lonnie was on a vacation in Mexico. So, turn on some light. There we go. I believe a very important moment will be coming up soon. So this is a letter from Katie, who you are, the player. Alright, so the Vatican is weird. As you can see, the Catholic Church still has a lot of money left over from the Middle Ages. I've gotten to see all of the art, including Sistine Chapel ceiling and sculptures by Michelangelo, Donatello, and the rest of the Ninja Turtles. Mom will have to come back together. I would love to be here with someone who really appreciates the history behind everything. Also, Sam, they have various relics, as in pieces of important dead people, so you should come too. Next stop, Barcelona. Calm down, Dad. I won't get gored by a bull. Probably. Love, Katie. Right, so again, stuff like this, all these notes, I would have students read out loud. I saw a bunch of these before earlier. Disciplinary referral. Distributing inappropriate materials on school grounds. So here's a letter from Dad. So, Sam, since you refused to hear us out this afternoon, your mother and I are putting this in writing so that we are absolutely clear. I'm going to put it here. You are grounded for the rest of the month from social and telephone privileges and from using your car for anything but going to and from school. We understand what you're going through, but we can't allow you to continue with this kind of behavior at school. And clearly, once your privileges are reinstated, we can't allow you to have the bedroom door closed while Lonnie is at the house. This is the last word on the matter. Get back on course, so this won't have to happen again.
I had an interesting talk with Mom and Dad tonight. One you were never gonna need to have. I mean, you've known, right? I've known. I've known since, like, She-Ra. Mom and Dad didn't, I guess. But they saw the zine and the stuff on the locker, and they were like, is there something we should know about you and Lonnie? And so here's the thing. I was prepared for them to be mad, or disappointed, or start crying, or something. But they were just in denial. You're too young to know what you want. You and Lonnie are just good friends. You just haven't met the right boy. It's a phase. That's what I didn't see coming. That they wouldn't even respect me enough to believe me. Well, joke's on them, because they're in for one very long phase.
Yeah, Potter, anytime someone adds but at the end of something, you know that it's kind of going to take a wrong turn. It's like, oh, I'm not racist, but I'm not sexist, but I'm not homophobic, but type of situation. And that specific audio journal, we ended up having a very long conversation in class about the significance of it, especially since our parents found out and why Sam was more disappointed in them not believing her rather than them being angry with her, right? So they didn't even believe what was happening. They just told her, oh, it's just a phase. So my students, I teach juniors and seniors in high school, although I do know a number of other teachers who have used this game in middle school down to at least to 8th grade, is I know, and another teacher who's done it with their 10th graders. So like there is some cursing in the game, but that's fine. I mean, if you just prepare it with your students, it should be perfectly okay. And I think it's actually a really accessible way to have these conversations with students in middle school as well. They definitely. So it's funny. So my students actually are, in general, I agree with you, Cole Sparks, but my students are actually all immigrants and English language learners, so English is not their native language. So a lot of the reason why I use video games like this are beyond just like teaching the content and teaching the story. It's actually so that they can practice their English, right? So we read these letters together. They get to listen to the audio journals. They get to read with the subtitles. They get to interact with the environment. So it hits a lot of those different modalities that help someone in language acquisition.
Daniel finally came over to get his game. I'd been dreading it. But he brought this story with him that I wrote when we were little. I started reading it, and then there I was, crying at the kitchen table. He asked what was wrong, and I was thinking about how we used to be friends, how much I'd taken for granted. But instead, I told him about school, and Dad, and Lonnie. And then how sorry I was that I wasn't his friend anymore. He gave me a hug and said it was going to be okay. And for some reason, I almost believed him.
So again, so that journal entry, while less significant in terms of the overall plot, was actually really touching for a lot of my students because Daniel is a friend of Sam's back where she came from, right? She's from out of state and moved to a new home. And she kind of lost touch with Daniel. And I do believe you can rearrange the cans. Oh, it fell off. So yeah, you can kind of do whatever you want with the cans or the cereal. My students really like taking stuff and just throwing them all over the house. Right, since they have to stay clean at home. They just like kind of messing with things. But yeah, so since a lot of my students moved here from another country, right, they've gone through similar circumstances of losing touch with friends that they have back home. Right, so it's always nice to be able to right, make connections between their own lives with what's going on in the classroom. Ooh, this is a lot. Do we want to read it? Should I read this? I'll let you guys decide. We don't need to read the whole thing. It's more... Yes? Okay, cool, Sparks. We'll read it. Alright. So first, let me say that I hope this missive finds you well. Hell, it feels like a goddamn miracle that it finds you at all. Do you know how long we've been trying to track you down? Worry not. We aren't the feds, the men in black, or any other sort of creeping fascist hobgoblins. In fact, we're on your side. Let me start from the beginning. Unknown Dimension is what you might call a specialist publishing house. We traffic in the weird, the ahead of its time, the lost but not forgotten, by a small but dedicated group of plugged-in bibliophiles, type of out-there mass-market shunning visionary expressions that refuses to be taken on anything but its own terms. We've had an unparalleled run since our inception 4 years ago, unearthing and reviving Christ or zombie-like timeless works such as N.N. Beastman's Message of the Snake Men, It's Inside Me by Jens Keller and Emil Krieger, Offspan, Venusian, Flesh Traders. But ever since we discovered tattered copies of your accidental series at the Church Rummage Sale in Long Branch, New Jersey, we've been trying to track down the author of this weird and dark American outsider art. John Russell, mild-mannered insurance agent by day, reckless history revising sociopath by night. It's a twisted peacekeeper that modern suburban America deserves. It's our mission to bring him back to life. We want your permission to reprint the work since your original publisher, Mercury Books, folded a decade ago. We want you to supply a new forward for the books to appear in brand new editions of The Accidental Savior and The Accidental Pariah, to be produced by Unknown Dimension as a limited run and marketed directly to our highly discerning customer base. We look forward to embarking with you and to thrusting your work screaming back into the sweating palms of the unsuspecting American public. It's about time. Blast off Kaz, Medsic, Kazik Publisher, Unknown, I don't know if I pronounced that right, Unknown Dimensions Literature, 6464 Michigan Avenue, Newark, New Jersey, 07114. So, right, part of the side stories in the game was that the father was struggling a lot as an author. So I guess this is kind of like a lucky break where someone found one of his books and now wants to republish some of his works. Sam, your mother and I will be away for a long weekend celebrating our anniversary, June 3rd to 7th. We will be camping in the gorge, but we will give you a call on the way home. Sorry, the kitchen is still mid-renovation. Never trust a contractor. $40 on the table to order pizza while we're gone. Be good, Dad. So that explains where the parents are and why there's no one home. I know a lot of my students were still kind of predicting that maybe the parents were murdered or someone was killed, but this just shows that they're on vacation celebrating their anniversary.
I asked Lonnie what she had to do to get ready to ship out for basic training. She said, not a lot, really. You're not allowed to bring anything with you. You have no possessions, no contact with the outside world while you're in basic. You just train hard every day, and then you deploy from there. So, they'll just send her away. To who knows where. The other side of the country? The other side of the world? My mind, can't process it. She's really going to be gone. Just gone.
Right, so Lonnie's heading out soon to basic training. Lonnie, my parents are leaving town, so we'll have the whole house till you leave. Imagine actually spending the night in my room instead of sneaking to our usual spot in the attic. Not that the attic doesn't have its musty allure, but my bedroom is warmer. Sam, we should defile your parents' bed while they're gone. That'll show them. Lonnie, you're gross. Never change. Sam. I'm wondering... Ooh, I forgot you can crouch. Where do I go next? I don't remember 100%. It's okay, we can do some exploring. So that was clearly the pizza that they bought with $40. It mimics some of my students' actions, where I just make a mess. I guess, yeah, this way. That makes sense. Ooh, we got another secret panel. Booted Out Girls. Right, so that's their concert. $3 ticket.
Lonnie had her going away show with her band tonight. She's so incredible on stage. When she was singing, I could practically forget everything. That we only had 48 hours left. That I don't know what comes next. That I can't live without her. Then she dedicated the last song to me. And I couldn't take it. I was out on the curb in the alley, sobbing till my ribs hurt. I would follow her anywhere, Katie. But I can't. Where she's going. After a long time, she found me. She said she was sorry. She said, I wish things could be different. I just wanted to make you happy. I said, I don't think you can anymore.
Right, so it's kind of bittersweet at the moment. So we got another postcard from Katie while she was still studying abroad. Hi, Mom, Dad, and Sam. I have had a wonderful time on the beaches of Barcelona. Dad and Sam, I think you would like the Gaudi architecture. It's from the strange alien world. I'm headed to my final destination, Amsterdam. For how long? That depends. I'm running low on money. I will look for a cheap standby ticket and call you when I'm headed home. Sorry for the short notice. Can't wait to see you all again. It'll be good to be back home. Love, Katie. So she didn't get gored by the bull. She did not get gored by the bull. She is survived, luckily. As you can tell by me walking through. Look at that! Look how it landed. That's cool. I like game physics. Like landing a water bottle, yeah. Make risotto. I think this is just to make a mess. Here's some clothing. I guess this is the laundry room. Copy what my students did. Read notes. So, Sam, I wish I knew how to explain it better. The army is this thing I grew up with. It's a part of me. My dad's army friends are like family. I've known it. I've always known it was where I'd end up. I'd never thought of it any other way. I wish things could be different. Maybe someday when I'm settled at a base and you're done with college and you're a famous writer and I can rebuild a tank engine with my eyes closed, things will be different and we can be together. Until then, L. Alright, so then this was a good moment to have a short conversation with my students about like army and military culture in the United States and how in many places like being a part of the military is such like an integral part of people's families and it's just expected for people to join the military. Because it's very shocking for a lot of my students to actually hear that, and a lot of them struggle to relate with how ingrained the military is in parts of United States culture, part of American culture. It is sad, but not always. There are definitely happy moments in the game. I want a house like this. They got like a greenhouse here. here. The Accidental Prior, right? So this is the book that the data was able to get republished from that letter we read. Strong Pines. This is where you can see June 3rd to 7th booked, right? So this is where they went on vacation. I like how they sprinkle all these like not Easter eggs, but like things that reinforce what's happening in the story. Like this is all optional. We didn't need to read the note that talked about the parents going on vacation. We didn't need to pick up this thing. But there's a ton of detail that went into actually developing the whole game with stuff like this. Hermits, how's it going? Hermits, while we have you, so Hermits, for anyone who's new, is one of my students, and we actually played this game. He actually spoke about playing this game when he was on the panel with me at PAX East. So maybe you can talk about in the chat. You should explain how you felt about this game. Hey Kaz, I can't tell you what a joy it is to see John Russell back in print. Thank you very much for seeing along copies of the new editions. The cover art is really something. I know you've said that Unknown Dimensions isn't in the business of printing new material, but this revived interest in my work has brought on a wave of inspiration, resulting in a manuscript that completes John Russell's journey, which I think you may find intriguing. It is reflective and introspective without forgetting the excitement and weirdness that Unknown Dimension readers expect. I hope this might be an exciting new direction for Unknown Dimensions to pursue. At the very least, I'm grateful that John Russell's adventures didn't come to an end quite when I thought they had. My thanks and regards, Terrence L. Greenbrier. Right, so he has accepted to continue publishing books. So the father's success kind of turned around in terms of Cold Spark. So it is potentially therapy, but a therapy session can still be kind of a vacation. Right? Couples counseling retreat. And they're going for their anniversary. So it's still a nice 4 days in the woods. Cover copy. It's been almost 20 years since John Russell's heard the call. Twice he saved the president's life. He's practically forgotten the days of the future, of danger and excitement, the days where he mattered. So when that familiar rip in time opens in front of him and his handlers peer out, he doesn't hesitate. Is the president in danger? No, the life you save this time will be your own. So he's working on writing his new book. Oh, we got a new map. Yeah, I like the spooky music that gets brought in. So there's where we'll do it. Under the stairs is a secret door. Midnight, June 5th. Final preparations are complete.
We agreed our last night together would be our happiest ever, and we'd forget tomorrow was going to come at all. It worked for a while. We had a good time seeing Oscar off, then ran up to the attic to look through our photos, to find one for Lonnie to take with her. And looking at them, I realized they were all in the past, and there wouldn't be any more. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And I cried, and she held me. She said she knew it was hard, but life would move on. I said I didn't want my life to keep moving without her. That's when she cried too. I was so exhausted. I must have fallen asleep like that, in her arms. In the morning, I woke up, and I was finally alone.
It is Gone Home, Hermits. That's why you recognize it. I can't let him, Potter. I can't let him slack off. He's going to college soon. I got to make sure that he stays in the groove. So I think map, right? So there should be a secret door right here. So this is the thing I mentioned back last week. You could actually open this right at the beginning of the game. You just have to be careful to not let students do that, otherwise it can ruin the story. And of course, my students see this little satanic circle. They all freak out. Possession and exorcism. Oscar. So, right, Oscar was the father's uncle. Right, and they think, remember, people think that the house is haunted. We got a key.
The sunset light in this house is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I just want to sleep. When I'm in the attic, it almost feels like Lonnie could still be here. She's just downstairs. I'm just waiting to hear her pull down the hatch and come running up. Maybe I'll go up to the attic and wait.
Right, so remember, Lonnie had left officially, so now Sam's in the house alone. And now we can finally go to that locked attic where my students thought that someone was murdered, or there was a dead body, or that Sam even potentially died by suicide. We're actually getting towards the end of the game, in which case we can hop into the developer's version of it and listen to what some of the developers had to say about the game. That's a creepy noise. So this is the locket that they, not locket, like the two-part necklace that they had bought. So Sam will always remember what we had. Stay strong, kick ass. I love you, Lonnie.
Oh my God. Katie, I fell asleep in the attic, in Lonnie and my old spot, and I missed the first 2 calls. I just barely caught the third one before the machine got it. And it was Lonnie, on a payphone. She'd been on the bus to Basic, and she said she couldn't think of anything but me and us, and that she couldn't go through with it, with the Army and being apart and all of it. And so she got off the bus in Salem. She said, "Sam, I want you to pack up everything you can and get in your car and come find me. And let's just drive until we find somewhere for us." And she asked me if I could do that. And I said yes. Yes.
Right, so not so sad anymore. That's a happier moment that Lonnie is actually ditching going to the military. And now we're going to get into the final journal entry of the game. Alright, so letters to Katie. This is the journal. These are all the letters that we've been hearing narrated throughout the game. Do not read if you're not Katie.
Katie, I'm so sorry that I can't be there to see you in person, that I can't tell you all this myself. But I hope as you read this journal and you think back, that you'll understand why I had to do what I did. And that you won't be sad, and you won't hate me, and you'll just know that I am where I need to be. I love you so much, Katie. I'll see you again, someday. Love, Sam.
Alright, and so that's the game. That's the story. What do you guys... Alright, and the second this happened, my class would go into a whole conversation about if they made the correct choice. So what do you guys think? I would ask them, like, was it a good choice for them to run away together? And see where the conversation would go. What in the chat, tell me, do you agree? Was it smart for Sam and Lonnie to run away? probably not a great idea. No means to support themselves. But as my student said, Cole Sparks, the dad or the mom and dad left $40 for them to, so they do have $40 to their name. And they do have the car. So my students were actually fairly split. Some of them are saying no, they should have waited until, waited until college, right? To just kind of stick it out in high school until they can get away and actually support themselves. But then a number of the other ones said no, they'll be able to manage. It was a good decision to get out while they can. So now I want to hop back in. Yeah, start a new game. And they have this cool feature here called Enable Commentary. So icons appear throughout the house, allowing you to hear commentary from the game's developers and contributors. So I want to enable this. And we're not going to play through the entire game again, but I figure we can get a little bit of looking at kind of like the thought process of the developers, since one of the things we try to teach in school is author's purpose, to like go into why a text was created or written, so they can kind of get some insight into why the developers wanted to make Gone Home.
Hi, Mom. So I got my ticket home from Europe. I get back on June 6th, but it's a really late flight because that was the cheapest, so it gets in at midnight. But don't worry, I'll get a shuttle from the airport so you don't have to pick me up. Like, really seriously, you don't have to. Okay, so love you. See you soon. Bye.
And this is especially cool for anyone who wants to go into like game development, or who wants to be a part of a process of making a video game. Right, so you can see there's this floating icon, and there'll be more of those around the house. So let's listen to what this one. So this is Steve Gaynor. Welcome to commentary mode.
Hi, I'm Steve Gaynor. I'm the co-founder of the Fulbright company. We made Gone Home. I was the writer and designer, and thank you for taking a look at our commentary mode. Whenever you find an icon like the one you just clicked on, you can find out a little bit more about the game. I want to thank everybody who's added commentary. Janman and Carla, my co-founders of the company, Kate Craig, our 3D artist, Chris Remo, our composer, Sarah Grayson, the voice of Sam Greenbrier, and Corin Tucker, the lead singer of Heaven's Delight.
What's cool is, so this guy, Steve Gaynor, I'm actually currently writing a book
so thank you, everybody,
about
and enjoy
teaching with video games, and like how to start that process for teachers who are interested or educators who are interested in teaching with video games. And I actually reached out to Steve to see if he'd want to provide a quote for the book, and he did respond. He wrote something really nice out that will be included. So this one's also for Steve, about the duck, this Christmas duck.
So Christmas Duck is a fan favorite. He's kind of a mascot, I guess, and I think that's partly because it's a weird concept, a Christmas duck, and partly because it's like the first unique thing that you encounter in the game. It's kind of personified as like a little character, but the thing is, Christmas Duck was not planned. When we were starting the project, we didn't have a 3D modeler because Kate came on a couple months after we started, and we needed a bunch of 3D models. And so I was just going through the Unity asset store. So I was going through the list and saw this Christmas duck, and I was like, "What is that?" Okay,
so I like listening to it, like how random
like
some things are in terms of like including it in the game.
Stuff and carry it around, and then I ended up
saying, listen to this one.
Hello, my name is Kate Craig, and I was creating a lot of the environment assets for the game. Not all of them, some of them I had help with. which I'll touch on a little later, but most of the stuff like the walls and the floors, some of the larger pieces of furniture were my doing, and I'm going to be talking about some of the environmental storytelling aspects in Gone Home. I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't mention the work that my wife Emily Carroll did on the project. She did the house title image that we've used for our wallpapers and for the start screen of the game. She did the loading cassette tape, and she did the maps in the house. And actually, Carla made a font out of her handwriting because we wanted something that was just a little bit spooky, maybe a little ominous, but something that sort of suited the tone of the game. And I was really glad to be working with her, and I was really glad that the other guys were too. We had a really good time. And people have responded quite positively to her title screen, which is something that I really appreciate, and I know she does too.
So, and this is the thing, you need to be careful with your students, right? So if you do bump up against this wall, right, you're not supposed to open this until the very end of the game, but you could actually open it now, right? And now we have the key to the attic, even though it's literally the last thing you're supposed to do in the game.
The sunset light in this house is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I just want to sleep. When I'm in the
Listen
attic,
to this, Carla.
Oh man, mom handwriting. We went through a lot of different moms for handwriting. A lot of different moms contributed handwriting for our game. At first, let's see, how did we do? What were we doing first? I think I just did it, and it wasn't great. And then we had Emily do it, but her handwriting was used so heavily in other parts of the game that we had to find someone else. And I think we actually had Yanaman try to do it for a while before he was Dad's handwriting. And then we got Yanaman's mom, and she was ideal for it. Really good mom handwriting. Yeah.
Right, so they're talking about like stuff like this where they actually put someone's handwriting in there, but they wanted it to look a certain way. They got these things everywhere. I forgot exactly how many of these there are.
Hi, I'm Chris Remo, the composer on Gone Home. In my commentary tracks, I'm going to be talking a little bit about what went into creating the original music soundtrack for the game. Gone Home is an unusual game, musically speaking, in that it consists of two distinct music soundtracks. The one of those probably more frequently commented on is the collection of licensed Riot Girl songs that the player finds in Sam's cassette tapes strewn around the house. The other one is the original music that accompanies the player's undirected exploration of the house and underscores almost every one of Sam's audio diary recordings. When Steve first asked me to do music for Gone Home, I was really excited about it, but there are almost no parameters for what that meant in terms of format or scope. Having played an early build of the game, I started by just doing a few musical sketches with no real regard for length or usage, mainly consisting of vintage electric piano sounds like Wurlitzers and Fender Rhodes. I chose those instruments because I wanted sounds that would feel at home in the era of the game. The Twin Peaks soundtrack used a lot of Rhodes, for example, but would also blend into the background and not share much tone in common with the abrasive Riot Girl guitars. Some of the instrumentation and ideas changed from those first sketches, but they also contained one of the main themes that ended up accompanying Sam's arc throughout the final game.
So, Hermits, I know I didn't get a chance to do this with you guys because we just didn't have time to do it. But it's something, right? So you are the first batch of students that I taught with this game, and whenever I teach for something, I have to learn how to make it better for the future. So in the future, I'm thinking of doing this with whichever class it is at that time, so that they can kind of see what went into creating the game.
So here's one of Dad's pulpy JFK books. He's now moved on from primary sources to theories about how JFK was.
Let me turn off. I don't think we need the subtitles, or we don't need that anymore.
Killed.
Yeah.
However, this one purports to contain the truth. The publishing company is a doofy inside joke because, there's Harcourt Brace, the publisher that exists, and so I was trying to think of a good name for a publisher, and being a big nerd, I immediately thought of Harcourt Fenton Mudd and how he basically sounds like a publishing company, so
You have to say who that is.
No! Alright, fine. He's an awful character from
Star Trek.
Original Star Trek, which is called Mud's Women, and also there's another one whose name an episode I can't remember for some reason.
I'm Mud.
Fuck, yes, okay. Thank you.
It's a Star Trek reference. You did
Yes!
it, Carla.
What? Here we have Fresh Magazine, which is a synthesis and pastiche of Sassy Magazine, which if you haven't looked at it, or if it wasn't, something that you cared about in the early 90s, it was very feminist and, strongly individualist and actually gave good advice. It was actually really good. Anyway, so yeah, this is the type treatment, the super grungy type treatment is totally indicative. That's how it used to be. Oh yeah, and amusingly, of course, our cover model is Rachel, Steve's wife. I had to make her put on this awful light pink lipstick and do the 90s-ist stuff imaginable. And she did it.
It was your idea to put a braid in the front of her bangs?
Yes.
Yeah, it seems like... Congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
So, I know this is less commentary on my end, but I figure that's fine. I think it's better for you to hear what the developers and writers and creators are saying about the making of this game. And we'll probably only do this for a couple more minutes because you kind of get the point.
So these are all the VHS tapes, or most of them, in the house. And these in the TV room are from they only belong to Dad and Sam, because Mom has some VHS tapes, but they're up in the bedroom.
Top Gun.
And you can tell Dad's because
Clue.
he writes in a big, heavy, all caps style handwriting.
Ghostbusters,
And Sam
Labyrinth.
does not. So, contrary to popular opinion, the X-Files tapes are not Dad's; they're in fact Sam's.
Airplane.
Stuff like JFK
Yes.
has an obvious dad interest, and some of the other stuff that we put in there was very much like,
I never
what
watched
is a
the X-Files.
dad movie?
Yeah.
What is a if when we were growing up, for instance,
Runner.
like what is a movie that our dad or a neighbor's dad would have? So stuff like the Andromeda Strain or Moonraker, it's just sort of like, yeah, dads
love that shit.
Yeah, dads that were born in the 50s.
I never
were
watched
super
the
into that kind of
X-Files.
stuff.
Sorry if I
And then some
disappointed
of
you.
it was, stuff that we liked or remembered from when we were growing up. Like, you will know that Carlo was involved in making this game because Beetlejuice and RoboCop are on a VHS tape. That's most of what you need to know about Carlo.
That's true.
Right there. Sam's story slash school
I watched
assignment
it from another room
called,
repeatedly,
the Menstrual
demanding
Cycle,
my
a novella, is kind of
tell
a
me what was
fan
happening.
favorite. We found like a lot of people have enjoyed it a lot, and it's one of those weird things where it wasn't planned. Like it was, let's see. I had decided that I wanted Sam to have done like some homework, and I thought sex ed homework would be interesting because sex ed is a weird class in high school to be in, and so I Google searched for an actual sex ed assignment, and the assignment is a real sex ed assignment that is given out in like the Pacific Northwest, like Seattle. I think this is technically from the Seattle School District website that I got this from. So I found this thing which I didn't come up with, that I was kind of presented with, and I think I had been reading some stuff about like cool female spies in World War II, or like saboteurs, that had been part of like the French Resistance and stuff like that, and so that's why the history book is next to the sex ed assignment. The intended implication being Sam was doing history homework and sex ed homework, and the history unit was on World War II, and so kind of as a fuck you to all of the annoying assumptions implied by the sex ed assignment, she wrote this story about a woman in the war who was more interesting than her menstrual cycle. Like that is a person, but while fulfilling the requirements of the thing. And yeah, it ended up being this really kind of strange juxtaposition of concepts that ended up saying a lot about Sam, I think.
I do like how the homework assignments were done in this game a lot. I kind of wish my own students would be more creative when they complete their work.
I had seen Bikini Kill and Bratmobile play their first show at the North Shore Surf Club in Olympia. That was Valentine's Day, 1991. And I was kind of blown away by the incredible rawness and the honesty that they wrote with, and the kind of flippancy that they had. I thought was really interesting. But to have the opportunity to talk about all of these issues that are really important to young women, I thought was really special. And I thought that what they were doing was taking the kind of intense feminist ideas that had become popular in the 70s with, SDSS, and now, those really, incredible ideas and the ideology of feminism, but they were putting it into a language for today, for the 90s, I guess. That was 20 years ago, but it was for young people, and it was to relate to topics about sexuality, about sex, about sexual abuse, about sexism and harassment, and all these things that are really important for young women coming of age and becoming sexual beings that are really taboo to talk about.
Around here, you will find some
Nintendo.
of Sam's Super Nintendo cartridges that she left behind. Obviously, for legal reasons, we couldn't put real games in, and so we conscripted a few of our friends in the industry who are really talented artists to make cool label art for fake Nintendo games that we came up with.
It's so true. The first one was Super Spitfire, and that was by Rachel Morris, who is a cool artist. What is it? The NYU?
The NYU Game Center. She's done a bunch of posters and other art for them.
And then the next one was Adventures: The Cat Returns, which is it's sort of a.
It's a mascot platformer. Yeah. It's a Bubsy-esque toad having cat.
Oh yeah, but it's a regular cat. It's not a bald cat.
Yeah, it's a regular cat that rides a motorcycle towards an explosion.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lee Petty is the art director at Double Fine and worked on Brutal Legend, and I think he led up Stacking. And awesome. He was nice enough to spend some of his free time making the label for Adventures: The Cat Returns.
Yeah. We ran into him at GDC, and he offered to help us out, and we were all like, cool.
We were like, oh, you didn't think we'd take you up on that offer, did you? Draw us a cat.
Yeah. He regretted the error.
I think this will be the last one that we listen to.
Is Journey of Crystal, which is sort of a JRPG beast, and that was done by Gen Z.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's the art director at Supergiant. She did pretty all of the art in Bastion, and is working on Transistor. I know we had some people say that they could tell that it was her art because it has such a signature look.
It's pretty distinctive
to how she does things. So it was really cool and really exciting to have these really talented people from other studios that are inspirations to us contribute their unique art to the game.
Alright, so this is going to be the last one we listen to.
A lot of Gone Home is about pointless interactivity that is sort of things being interactive.
Oh,
a
sorry
lot of Gone Home is about pointless interactivity that is sort of things being interactive for the sake of them being interactive, but it really comes from our inspirations of immersive sims like System Shock and Bioshock and Thief, where
can I get it in?
a big part of the design philosophy behind those games and Gone Home is that the world needs to be really internally consistent.
Nope.
And there's this feeling that if there's something that your character might do, you should be able to do it in the game. So in BioShock, for instance, you can flush all the toilets and you can turn on all of the faucets, and that's also true in like Deus Ex and Dishonored. Like, and sometimes like the water fountains in Deus Ex give you like 1 health or whatever, but really you can interact with them because there's this expectation of, if you could interact with that, if you encountered it in this world, we should let you do that, right? So, all of the faucets in our game can be turned on, and they can be turned on so that you can turn them on, and you can flush all the toilets, and it extends into our philosophy behind you can pick up every plastic cup and toothbrush and Kleenex box, not because it's going to add a whole lot to your understanding of this world to be able to look at the underside of a cup, but to pay off that expectation and say to the player, yeah, you could pick that up and look at it, so we're going to let you do that, and it's going to be consistent interactively with the stuff that is important, and that makes it your job to look at everything and give it your attention, and for you to decide and understand and figure out what has significance and what doesn't, and not for us to tell that to you.
So Hermit says, now that I'm listening to this, it sounds like people who created this are teachers. And I agree, right? So there's a similarity. When they created this game, when they wrote this game, when they made the music for this game, the art, how everything looks, right? They did it intentionally the same way when teachers create lessons for their students, right? So they wanted you to learn something by playing this game, whether it is by picking up random objects like this or from the main plot, right? There's a purpose to the narrative that's being told here. The same way that there's a purpose to a teacher doing a specific lesson with you, right? So they're not a teacher, but they are trying to teach you in a way. So that is it. That wraps up our playthrough of Gone Home. I hope you all enjoyed it. If there are any teachers watching this now or watching this in the future, I do hope you consider teaching with this game at some point, because I think it can be really beneficial for your students and for your practice, and for education in general. I think video games need to have a bigger place in schools. For those who are interested, so right, I'm going to be streaming again next week. Same time, Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I don't know what game I'm streaming yet, because those of you who support on Patreon, those of you who support Geeks Like Us on Patreon will actually get to vote for the game that I'll play. I believe there are 4 options. It can be Life is Strange 2, it can be What Remains of Edith Finch, it can be Tacoma, or God of War. So it's up to you guys. Those of you who are supporters on Patreon, you can go ahead and vote for the one that you want to see me stream next week. And for the rest of you, there's also a Discord that you can hop into. I can throw the link for the Discord in the chat, unless someone else can do it for me. You should come hang out there, because there's a tons of cool, teachers, psychologists, and just gamers in general who were just talking video games, anime, comics, everything. But yeah, thanks again. And I'll put in the link, and I will see you all next week. and I put the link in there for anyone who wants to join the Discord. See you later, Hermits. Hopefully you have time to stop by next week.